This is Rosen Institute's Your Law Firm, where Ned Days and Lee Rosen cover management, marketing, finance, and new technologies for building the practice you deserve. Rosen Institute members received this episode early, as well as exclusive segments on showing gratitude and appreciation to your referral sources, and an answer to a member question about hiring superstars or mediocre people. Get access to everything you're missing at roseninstitute.com/join. Here's Ned Days.
It's a chilly week somewhere in the Penobscot Bay. We are actually on the water for a few days in the Louis R. French, a boat built in the 1800s and now operated as a windjammer, taking tourists like us on trips around the coast of Maine. The weather is reasonably warm. It is summer after all, but as a Florida boy, I am not used to the water ever being particularly cold. But one of the crew roped me and one other passenger into going for a quick dip in the bay at 6:30 in the morning, and none of us lasted more than about 20 seconds. The captain dropped the thermometer in and said the water was 54 degrees, so I am recovering from that above deck for the rest of the day. It's time for your tech tip. I have been doing a little bit of travel recently and came to a terrifying realization. Just as I have become completely useless with directions and am entirely reliant on Google Maps for driving just about anywhere, I'm also seemingly incapable of having a normal conversation or listening to a podcast without the ability to ask AI random details every 45 seconds. Certainly not ideal if you are on a 6-hour flight. How did people survive like this? What was 2023 even like? But there is good news, because even in airplane mode and even from my phone, I now have the ability to run completely local AI models. I have talked about local AI models a little bit in the past. These are generally open source AI models that you can download and use on your device as you wish without the need for subscriptions, service plans, internet access, or any data whatsoever leaving your machine. When you ask Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT a question, they are sending your text, images, files, whatever to a supercomputer in a server farm somewhere for processing and then sending you the answer. Local models sidestep that entirely. Everything is running on your machine. The trade-off is that it generally requires a lot of computing horsepower, and the freely available models aren't as sophisticated as the cutting-edge commercial offerings. They can also be a little tricky to set up. You need specialized software, you have to pick a model, there's more configuration required than just opening up a browser tab. But Google has recently released the latest version of their open source model family called Gemma 4, as well as a mobile app for Android and iOS called AI Edge Gallery that lets you run customized versions of Gemma for getting work done with AI on your mobile device, no internet connection required. You download the app, you pick from a few different models, and you are up and running. Now, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there's only so much information that can be crammed into a model you can run locally on your phone without internet access. So when I ask a question like, what's that 90s song with a lyric that goes something like, "Hold on for one more day," Gemini can tell me that it is obviously the total banger Hold On by Wilson Phillips. Gemma inside of AI Edge Gallery asked me about the genre and the gender of the vocalist, and when I finally pressed it for an answer, gave me options like Britney Spears and Whitney Houston. Bless her little heart, but no. So you won't be winning arguments about trivia with your better half at 30,000 feet, but that's not to say that it isn't useful. It's still good at text generation, revision, review. Certainly on a tablet with a keyboard, you could get some real work done. But AI Edge Gallery is a little more focused on mobile-specific use cases and breaks down what it offers into several distinct modes that you have to select from for each interaction. AI chat mode is your standard LLM chat that you've seen before, but it's fairly basic. No file uploads, no images or audio. You just type or dictate and have text interactions with it. Ask Image mode is more interesting. You provide up to 10 images from your camera or your photo library, and it can do some of the basics you might expect. Identify items, give feedback on the contents. It can even do things like extract and reformat text and data. So if you have a photo of a stack of books, it can turn the titles into a formatted list or a CSV file. It can identify line items and totals from invoices and receipts, that kind of thing. Agent Skills mode feels a little half-baked right now, but is very interesting. This lets you essentially bring the whole AI skills ecosystem directly to your mobile device. Skills are a standard format for packaging up a set of prompts, instructions, data, and very interestingly in this case, JavaScript code that can be executed on your device to give you repeatable processes and workflows. There are some built-in examples like a QR code generator, a skill for adding events to your calendar, generating a map for a specific location, basics like that. Now, you probably won't be creating these on your phone, at least not yet. Installing them can be a little clunky. I tried out a focus and time tracking app somebody built with a Pomodoro timer and a habit tracker. It kind of launched an HTML interface that didn't work that well and was more of a tech demo than anything, but bringing the ecosystem of AI skills to your mobile device and getting a glimpse of what's possible when we can eventually run our own processes and systems from our phone is pretty interesting. There's a somewhat related mode called Mobile Actions. This one is all about interacting with the functions and apps on your device. You chat with this mode using voice or text, and it can do things like send an email, add a calendar event, open up a location in your Maps app, and even, get ready for this, toggle your flashlight on and off. Beyond that, it's not terribly useful just yet. I think on Android it can access a few more apps, but it's very limited on iOS. Again, a cool party trick for now, but hopefully a glimpse of a near future where we can simply tell our phones to scroll TikTok for us on our morning commutes so that we can safely keep both hands wrapped around a vape pen and an extra large iced coffee. As cool as all this is, the limitations are noticeable, and one of the biggest is that you have to be in the correct mode to do just about anything. AI chat mode and mobile agent mode won't turn on your flashlight. Both mobile action mode and agent skills mode can add an event to your calendar, but mobile action mode and AI chat mode won't let you give it images to process, whereas agent skills mode and ask image mode will. So there's a bit of a game of tapping the right icon a couple of times to make sure you are in the right mode for what it is you want to do. There's also an audio scribe mode that just functions like an instant on-device transcription and translation tool. There are a couple of other modes which aren't that useful. One is a prompt lab, the other is a gardening mini game. But all that said, it's AI running on my phone with no internet connection. And even on my iPhone 15, it's surprisingly quick. Stepping back a bit and looking at the bigger picture, in circumstances where you want guarantees that things like confidential information aren't leaving your device, which again, if you are saving a document to the cloud, that's already happening, but you may have a use case, local models obviously have a place. It also means that as budgets for AI tokens balloon, we are going to have more and more options for local triage and processing at no cost other than the energy it takes to charge our devices. There are lots of circumstances where data extraction, formatting, drafting, and revising can be taken care of just as effectively, more quickly, and at no cost by an AI model on our devices than by a frontier model in the cloud. Or more likely, we will see our phones, tablets, and notebooks decide which tasks can be handled on device and which should be passed to servers for processing. Creating a CSV file from that pile of receipts can happen on my phone mid-flight. When it comes to doing real work, like figuring out who sang "I love you always forever," I can spend $30 on Fable 5 tokens to get the answer. I'm Ned Days, and that's your tech tip. And now for your moment of concise advice. I was with a group of people recently, and the topic of socks came up. A friend who is quite a bit younger than I am was complaining that his girlfriend steals his socks. He is very particular about his socks. He has a very organized sock drawer, a very specific number of socks. She apparently likes his socks and can fit into them and steals them, doesn't put them back where they belong. He ends up short on socks. He finds her stash hidden somewhere, and arguments ensue. I asked him where he gets the socks, and he said, of course, Amazon. And I told him, you know what the solution to this problem is? Subscribe and save. You get a new pair or two each month. She gets to do whatever she is going to do with them. You sidestep the whole conversation, and it costs you an insignificant amount of money. You are going to have much bigger issues in your relationship. This is one you just need to let slide. Now, the idea that I, of all people, would be giving relationship or dating advice is patently absurd, but my wife was there too. She thought it was funny. The guy's girlfriend was there. She thought it was funny. Everybody chuckled with me, hopefully not at me. For a brief moment, I did consider pivoting this to a dating advice coaching community and dropping an Amazon affiliate link to socks in the show notes, but I thought better of it. However, I do think there is a very valuable lesson here. There are so many issues and arguments and circumstances in our businesses and our professional lives and even personal lives where we just act on complete inertia and assume that we need to answer every question. We have to engage with every debate. We have to hold on to something. We have to make a decision on something or fight about something where either the stakes are so small or the cost not to have to deal with it is so trivial that if we would just step back for 1 minute and think about what's the minimum effort required to just circumvent all of the stress, we would realize how crazy the whole situation is. I've seen marriages and businesses almost blow up over something like a yearly $300 invoice that prompts a discussion and a debate, and things get heated, people's feelings get hurt, and things finally settle down, but 12 months later, the same thing happens all over again. What if one person would just decide, you know what, I am going to set this on auto pay, not bring it up, and do exactly the same thing next year? I have seen a group of 4 people who each bill at more than $300 per hour spend almost half a day arguing over a $50 per month software subscription. Maybe the solution really is subscribe and save on some office supply that is constantly causing friction amongst your staff when it's low or gone. Maybe it is just buying a second laptop charger for that employee who is constantly leaving it at home. I say this as somebody who once had a yelling match over a calculator that could not have possibly cost more than $5. Now, I don't want you to just get the impression that endlessly throwing money at everything is the ultimate solution to all of your problems. If the same category of issue keeps generating all these little fixes, that's a system problem. And that gnarly conversation is one of the ones that you are saving your powder for. The subscribe and save sock solution only works because the stakes are so small. I'd suggest trying something for 1 week. Every time you feel that little flash of irritation about something that has bugged you before repeatedly, write it down on a list. At the end of the week, put a price on all of that drama. Take each item on the list and estimate what it costs you in a year and use your billing rate or the hourly wage of the people involved to do it. Then figure out a price for the option that makes it go away. Not necessarily the cheapest fix, but the one that means you never have to think about this again. The subscription, the auto pay, the second charger, handing authority for anything under a certain dollar amount to somebody on your team. See what it is compared to the drama number, and you are going to find that a lot of these problems can be eliminated for what effectively feels like the price of a couple pairs of socks. Now, it's also worth examining the delta, whether that is in price, time, stress, drama, oversight, whatever, between your current choice and the best possible option. The example I always use for this is fingernail clippers. You can walk into any pharmacy or grocery store and pay $5 or $6 for an absolutely horrendous, scratchy, jagged set of nail clippers. Do you know what a set of precision stainless steel Japanese-made Greenbell 1205 clippers will cost you, considered by many to be the Rolls-Royce of nail clippers? About $18. Trivial and totally worth it. So worth it that your girlfriend, or in my case wife, will end up stealing them. And do you know what you do then? Steal them back? Have an argument? No, you buy a second set. I've told this story before, but we kept bookkeeping in-house at the practice for a long time, and then we finally found somebody who was really good at bookkeeping. She had her own business doing outsourced bookkeeping and was willing to take on everything we threw at her, handling vendor phone calls and emails, invoices, bills, reports, everything. And the price we paid to have all of this done for a multi-million-dollar practice was well under $1,000 a month. I felt like a moron for waiting so long on that one, but lesson learned. You can get a couple of new pairs of socks delivered to your door for $6 a month and keep your powder dry for legitimately difficult relationship conversations. Or you can have a fight with your significant other every couple of weeks. The same thing applies to your practice. There are battles you are waging, overhead you are accruing, things you are refusing to delegate because you haven't yet asked, what would it actually cost me to make this go away? How much would I have to spend to be able to ignore this problem? There's not necessarily an objectively correct answer here, but we often fail to examine the alternatives open to us and seriously look at the cost, which is sometimes laughably cheap. That's your moment of concise advice. Wrapping up from somewhere off the coast of Maine, thank you for joining us today. Never forget that what you are doing is important work. Small, consistent steps focusing on marketing, management, and technology are how we build better firms, and you are 1 week closer to the practice you deserve. Until next time, I'm Ned Days.
Thanks for listening to Your Law Firm. Subscribe to the Friday File at roseninstitute.com and join thousands of other lawyers who are working on instead of in their businesses. You'll find safe, successful, actionable approaches for transforming your practice. Join us today at roseninstitute.com.